All right, listen up, Spuds. This is Zap Brannigan, master of time, space, and everything else in between. And, winner of this year's Modesty Award. You're listening to USUK. What's the difference with Al and Tom? Your one stop for this sort of thing.
Wow, that's very loud noise to open a show with. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to What's the Difference podcast with me, Alex Whiteley.
And me, Tom Bruno.
And today, it's very weird that we got Zap Brannigan open the show with the subject matter that we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to let the guys introduce themselves, our guests, because I think they will definitely do it better than I will, because I'll butcher the fuck out of it, and it won't make sense. So I'll hand over to Matthew. Matthew can explain what we're doing today and who you guys are.
Okay, so I'm the organiser of the Battle of Shrewsbury event that's happening in July. And we're also the Corbett Household as well, covering the history of Shropshire and all sorts, really. And going from there, really.
And we have Lee. Lee is, if you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll see as the Corbett Household banners surrounding him with shields and flags. That's right, yeah?
Yes, that's right, yeah. So my name's Lee. We are, as Matthew said, we're portraying the Corbett household. We're covering the Corbetts up from the Battle of Hastings up until the Battle of Bosworth. So you're looking at 1066 to 15th century, and we're portraying them through time. But we also, hopefully, in the future, we're going to go even past that, further than that, because we've actually got an actual Corbett in our group at the moment, although it is quite a popular name, as you can imagine.
And we also have Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hello. So I am mostly in charge of the Corbett's earlier stuff, about 1066 to roughly 1250. So at that time period, it's basically all border politics and keeping those nasty Welsh in check. That's what I do.
It's needed.
Yes.
So what I gather from this is, because I'm not in Shrewsbury, so this is like me learning all about this for the first time. I'm with everybody else. So the Corbetts, I take it, are a prominent family in Shrewsbury or in the general area? I'll take this.
Yeah. So the Corbetts were given a bunch of land when they came over with William the Conqueror, just around the Shropshire area. Cawes Castle in Lee?
Westbury. Yeah.
Westbury. Hanwood was one of theirs as well, I think.
Yeah, so the way the group sort of started, because I live in a little village called Pontesbury, and next to that is Hanwood, so there's like little villages all around us. Been doing re-enactment for a few years now, and I was asked to do a re-enactment show at Hanwood, and I thought, has Hanwood got any history? So I started doing some digging, and then found, they're owned by the Corbetts. So I thought, this is pretty good. Did some more digging, and then found that the Corbetts had a castle that was in Cawes. Well, it was called Cawes Castle, should I say, which is in Westbury. Bit of a ruin now, not much of it left. In fact, there's none of it left. It's more of a farmer's field now. But then the more digging that we did, the more we'd find out about them. And it just sort of escalated from there. Matthew was obviously doing the same, but he was doing the Corbetts from like the Battle of Bosworth and Tewkesbury. So you're looking at 14th, 15th century. So what happened was me and Matthew then met, and we brought the Corbetts together. So now we're doing the Corbetts in time. But yeah, they're quite well known, but it's not only just Shropshire, they're sort of all over the place. Matthew could probably go into more detail about that, because I know mainly more of the earlier period. So I think it was Richard Corbett came with William the Conqueror, as Tom said, after the Battle of Hastings. After the Battle of Hastings was won, he was then awarded some of the lands in Shropshire, where he built Cawes Castle. And then I only found that Hanwood was part of the Corbetts because I found them in the Domesday Book, which was 1068 or no 1080. You have to tell me with that, Tom. Mine's gone.
1086.
1086. Sorry, yeah. So 1086 is when they introduced Domesday, and then obviously Hanwood was recorded in there having a bit of having some some sheep, I believe, and a few villagers and a few slaves. So we're hopefully this September, as long as COVID all doesn't stop us, we're going to do a show at Hamwood as well, and we're going to actually do it where it's going to be Doomsday, where we're going to try and go down to do some tax collection, and then there's going to be some resilience from the local rebels who don't want the Normans there, which is who we are, and then we're going to have a bit of a fight and a bit of a display.
What's the Doomsday Book? It sounds like Necronomicon-ish. That was interesting. What's that?
Yeah, so the Doomsday was introduced by William, and basically he wanted to know what did people own in his land. So he set out he produced the barons, and basically he wanted to, it was the first sort of tax, if you like, and just an understanding of what everybody owned. So all the local lords, so we could tax it basically, and it was like the first sort of, it was one of the first ways that they were trying to find out what was owned by certain lords basically, and then he could make judgments then how many troops does one area have if he needed them for example for a battle, where Cawes being right on the border, well, part of Wales as well, it is now, but it wasn't back then. It's obviously nice to know how many troops you've got if you've got a few Welsh invaders coming in. So,
yeah, we got to be like, just take guesses. I don't know. Like, you need like 20 guys over there. That's all you need. And he's like, sir, it's a huge border. You'd be like, maybe 30. I don't know. Yeah, it makes sense. You'd keep a ledger of some sort to like, keeping track of what you need where, because obviously you can't be very well prepared. What an interesting name for the book, though. I mean, like, you would think that it would have been something that, like, it was predictions of the future, being like, it's the Doomsday Book. The bad things are happening. But he's like, no, this is actually like my tax write-off book. This is my census. This is everything else that goes in. I just call it the Doomsday because it sounds pimp.
No. It's in the book. I had 8 sheep, not 5, 8 sheep. How many do you see? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where are my fucking sheep? Where are my sheep? I want my sheep.
I see a Doomsday in your fucking future. And you're like, all right, I get it.
Definitely, it'd be interesting. Well, obviously we'll never know, but I'd imagine, they probably had a lot more than what they said that they had when it comes down to sheep and things.
People do that all the time when they come back from like overseas, right? They're like, how many gold necklaces you buy? I bought 1.
Yeah.
Well, you got 15. Those are all from back in the day. You can't tax those now. Yeah. That's crazy. I've already paid the tax.
Don't look in that barn. We don't want to answer that.
Yeah, just with the Corbetts. So there was a new tax levied at some point in the 12th or 13th century. And one of the Corbetts refused to pay it on the justification that, none of my predecessors paid it, so why should I?
I don't see any flaw in that reasoning at all. I'm like, whoa, why do I have to pay for their mistakes? Thanks a lot. It's like when people get taxed, like debt collectors come after the kids and stuff. You die with a bunch of credit card debt, or the magic money card. If I'm going to speak in the parlance of our friends here, they'd be like, oh, well, your dad owed like $20,000. Well, why is that my responsibility? I didn't sign for that. So, well, it's still your responsibility. Good day, sir.
Or it's like America going, we can bear arms. It was written on a piece of paper 400 years ago. Look, there you go.
Wow. Hateful. You're just jealous you can't have a gun, aren't you? That's just all I hear out of your mouth right now is that Tom's got a bunch of guns. I got no guns. It seems unfair. That's all it sounds like.
It's funny you mentioned the old laws. There's still a law in place now where in Shrewsbury we've got the Welsh Bridge, and I believe it's still law now. If a Welshman goes over the bridge on horseback, you're allowed to shoot him with a bow and arrow. So, I believe that's still going now.
Yeah.
It's not been.
It's the same in Chester as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I remember that.
Is it every other Saturday you're allowed to get a Welshman?
Wow.
That makes sense. I grew up in Wrexham, so that's why. That's why in Wrexham they fucking hate Chester. Like every time we go there, we get shot. So Tom is responsible, by the way, for one of the best photos I've ever taken for a podcast ever. I'm going to show you now, Bruno. This picture is glorious.
Nice.
I would like to remain anonymous.
I like to anyone familiar with the sort of crusade history will understand why I captioned this. And that's when we just decided to sack Constantinople instead.
I laugh as if I know what you're talking about. That's great. I love that. So for the guys that are listening to this and not watching this on YouTube, Tom's wearing a beautiful steel helmet with a gold crest across the... It's imagine what the Black Knight wears in Monty Python, not to downplay what you're doing there, Tom. And he's carrying a shield as well. Let's talk people through what you're actually wearing there, though, Tom. What is this? Explain it for us.
So, I have some handy props.
Ooh.
So, first thing that I'll have on my head is this. It's just a little linen coif. Coif in the period generally refers to anything worn on the head.
Yes.
So
yeah,
that protects my head from my male coif. I won't put it all on now because it's loud and my girlfriend's trying to sleep. But yeah, that goes... Well, actually, first up is this. So pop that on. This is a... I know. So... Cavalier, basically translates to secret helm. So that's worn underneath the coif, so coif goes over that. And then on top of all of that, I've got this, which is my great helm. Great helms come in during the mid-13th century. I'm pretty swish. So, like that. If you can hear me at all.
Now that helm looks very heavy. What's that weigh?
Oh gosh, I don't have an exact weight, but I can tell you it can get quite uncomfortable.
Like a jug of milk, maybe, or something along those lines. Maybe like 8 pounds, 6 pounds, 5 pounds. I mean, that's right. I'm speaking English. I'm speaking that dirty English again. My bad. It's lots of stones. It weighs many a stones. I don't know.
Normally, when you're in full armor, it can be anything from sort of 4 to 6 stone extra on your body. Like,
so. A lot of work. Yeah. And by the way, I really got to throw this out there. I've spoken to some reenactors before. We've had war reenactors, from World War II and things along those lines on here. And you guys are extremely well versed in the history that you guys are representing. I got to say, because most people, you're like, oh, well, what do you know about this? Well, they kicked ass, and you're like, oh, that's great. Like, that doesn't teach me anything. But all of you gentlemen are very well versed. Does that kind of come with the territory, or is that something you guys have such a passion for it that you wanted to learn about as well as participate?
Yeah, I would say I was very much like that when I first started. And then you learn as you go along. Because when I first started, I just want to fight in armor, man. Give me a sword, give me a spear. I want to fight. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. And yeah, and then you put your own twist on it. And but yeah, that's certainly how I've been. But I've been doing it 20 years, obviously picking up things as I go along. But it is tight. As you get older, you do get a bit, I have got a bit more interested. And you do your research, and this is how it's all come about, really, just by doing your own research for the local area, finding out what's going on.
So these pictures that I got, by the way, I'm going to share a couple of these. So there's Timmy and me posing with a gentleman from I believe it's the Coventry Reenactment Society. That's of a different period, and there he is again inside St. Mary's Church.
So he's mid-15th century. So most of his stuff is for like the Battle of Shrewsbury and the Battle of Bosworth. So it goes a bit more fancy. Like you've got like more Gothic style coming in. And like on his body, he's got a brigadine, which is basically lots of little plates that all get attached to the material. And it's quite light. But it's still like 6 stone in weight with the legs and the helm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I noticed there's not much protecting ye old junk in these pictures. What's the deal? They're like, well, castratas are a thing, so clearly we can just let any danger go right here and just pay attention to the parts that will kill you. I don't know if I'd want to live if I got castrated in battle. So I feel like they really just armored the wrong plates. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. You did have tassets, which are metal bits that normally hang down, so you see that on like actual metal armor.
Oh, okay.
And also you had chainmail skirts as well, which protect stuff. But like going earlier with that, so Agincourt, so just after the Battle of Shrewsbury in 1415, well, you had archers that were basically wearing their underwear. They were shitting themselves that much they would not wear the foot hose. So yeah.
And between your legs was quite open as well, and like a lot of the armours, they'd actually call them bollock daggers. If you Google bollock daggers, you'll see it, because you've got a dagger and it's got the shape of bollocks on the end. And literally, as we say with our late period weapons, they've got hooks on them, and you can hook. What you do is you'd hook the back of the shin, pull them up, and as they fall back, and then you'd stab them as they go down. And if they're on their back, their legs are in the air, you pull out your bollock dagger, which is where it came from, and you just stab them between the legs. Next person between the legs, because that would be the less armoured point, as you rightly say. As you rightly say, you've only got the mail, but as soon as you're on your back, thank you, you're dead.
So it's a bit like this sort of thing.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
They are actually called bollock daggers if you Google.
And the blades are really thin, so then it can go into. Yeah, there we go. It's a bit slightly different design, this one, and it's very narrow blade. So then, when they've got the helm on and the visor, it could actually go straight through into the back of the head. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a hot take or not, but war is not nice, huh?
No. You can also have stuff like that.
Yeah.
My new top.
Look at the shine on it.
Yeah.
Wow. That looks brutal.
All those are sharp. So that's for crushing, and then that's for piercing.
Now, is that a war hammer at that point, or what is it? Okay, and
so you had the short ones, and then you had them the same height as yourself.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what sort of thing you had.
How do you go? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Carry on, Matthew. I lost my question.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you guys get? I mean, obviously you're responsible in what you're doing, but I need to explain to the US listeners that just carrying a knife in the UK can get you up to a 12-month sentence in prison. So how do you guys get around with carrying it? It's okay, guys. I'm a historian. It's absolutely fine.
I mean, basically, you have to be part of a group and have the insurance and things like that to prove it as well.
But most of our items are blunt as well.
Yeah.
Apart from the ones you're showing off.
Look, Mr. Officer, see, it won't even pierce your stabby vest. Look.
Now, let me show you my bollocks dagger really quick. Really going.
The reason why I pulled up those pictures from St. Mary's, by the way, about this gentleman, wasn't to change the subject, but I met Tom, who is a teacher, and I had a really good conversation with him. And if you guys listen to the Shrewsbury Biscuit, any of you guys, there was a really good conversation I had with him about history in schools in the UK. And I was absolutely perplexed at the idea that children in schools don't even know what World War II is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I asked Tom, who is a history teacher, and he's like, that's true. Absolutely true. So the reason why I'm so invested in you guys and what you guys are doing is to show people that it's really important to learn about our history.
Yeah.
And I'd say your history too, Bruno, but you're a heathen Italian, so
Wow.
I mean, am I wrong?
I'm a mutt. Thank you very much. French, Canadian, Italian. I got all sorts of things. German. I got a lot of things going on. I'm complex, Alex. I'm complex.
I took GCSE history, and I'm not that old, so it was relatively recent. And I learned more about the Vietnam War than anything else, so I probably know more about American history outside of medieval than I do about UK history, which is shameful, quite frankly.
It is a shame. We don't learn much, do we, about medieval history? I didn't. It was all World War II, maybe, if I can remember that far back, but that was it. We never did further. Although I do remember my history teacher telling me something about some king being murdered by putting a hot poker up his bum. So I can't remember how long that was. Do you remember that
was Edward, wasn't it?
Was it Edward?
Yeah, one of the stories from Berkeley Castle.
That's it. Yeah, so I remember that.
that's weird to me because like not the hot poker thing, that makes a lot of sense, but like the rest of it where you guys only learned about like certain things, because over here in the US, like we learned a lot about medieval times. We like even built like little trebuchets and everything. Like we did a whole thing, built up castles. It was a good time. I love that. There was only a couple things I paid a lot of attention to in history class, which was like ancient Egypt, medieval times. So that's when all the cool shit happened. Nothing cool happens nowadays, you know.
Well, because my girlfriend is a primary TA, so yeah, they do a bit of medieval history, but they're only really allowed to do a term of it. So a few couple of months, 3 months of medieval history, then they have to move on to other stuff. Yeah. And obviously, medieval history, depending on who you ask, is about 1,000 years between 500 and 1500. So that's a lot to cram into a few months.
So go and watch Braveheart, kids. Go and watch that.
Like, do not watch Braveheart.
No. Mel Gibson is my hero. He just goes out and he fights all the English. He's just like,
He absolutely hates us. He did The Patriot after that, and he hates
Yes, he did. Mel Gibson's all over history. You can learn everything. He did Apocalypto. He did that Jesus movie. If you want to learn stuff, kids, learn from Mel Gibson.
It's only the Americans that like us English. The Welsh hate us, the Scottish hate us, the Irish hate us. We're surrounded everywhere. It's only the Americans that like us.
The Americans only like us because they technically won.
Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. And then we always pull our back pocket. We're like, plus we helped you with World War II. Remember that, guys? You remember that? You're like, yes, God.
I mean, you missed World War I at most.
Thanks for turning up.
Well, when Tom was saying he learned about the Vietnam War, I was going to say, did you learn about how quickly a helicopter sinks to the bottom of the ocean? Because that's what I remember from Vietnam, is them kicking helicopters off boats so they go quicker. Get the fuck out of here! When it comes to what you guys do, obviously you guys try to be as historically accurate as possible. Matthew, when you're watching movies now, is this ruined for you? Is like things like you said, Braveheart, things like, do you just constantly spot these inaccuracies everywhere?
Definitely. I am a proper stitch Nazi, as quite a few people call them. On any period. Because I covered from medieval all the way up to the Cold War for reenactment. I'm always researching, got loads of uniforms, equipment, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, as soon as you see something wrong in a film, that's it. It's like The King by Netflix.
Oh, yeah, sorry, carry on. Go on.
Yeah, The King by Netflix. They do the Battle of Shrewsbury, it's 2 people fighting. It was 14,000 people on either side.
Right.
It's just like,
This gets to an interesting point for me because I read every single edition of Sharp. I was a big fan of Bernard Cornwell's work. Sharp, for me, those books. You're talking about, Bruno, how war was not nice. Bernard Cornwell does an amazing job with this depicting war and what it actually felt like. You can almost smell the blood coming through the pages. It's brilliant, right? So then I went, okay, we'll watch the Sean Bean Sharp. Let's see what they're about. Battle of Waterloo. There's about 24 drunken people kind of like, king, king, king. I'm thinking there's 100,000 people fighting on this field, and there's like 32 guys just lazily waving swords at each other and shooting people. It's just nuts. Yeah.
It's like Vikings does it for me because they're all wearing leather, and it's just like, you didn't wear leather.
Well, I mean, bondage gear. Let's give it its real name.
Yeah, so what are you doing?
Bondage.
So why isn't anybody wearing a helmet?
You've been watching the wrong version, Lee.
Yeah, definitely, I think. And it's a lot of like, why is nobody wearing a helmet? And it's just like, you would have wore a helmet. And it's like they just want to be Hollywood and run in and go, yeah, look at me.
Yeah, it's all about the imagery, isn't it? And like, there's two like, there's The Last Kingdom on Netflix and there's Vikings. Which have you guys seen both of them? Can you compare them?
Last Kingdom was all right. Yeah, didn't watch all of it. I watched the first couple, but I didn't. It was a long time ago. I don't know. Tom's probably watched them all. He's got.
I mean, I'm not too up to date on the actual kind of historical plot points, but the costuming and armor is about as bad as you can get. But well, I mean, some of them are wearing mail, so I'll give them that.
That guy's got a fucking iWatch. What's his?
Oh, at least they don't have a Starbucks cup on the table in the middle.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones shout out there. So when it comes to you, what you guys are doing, you're talking about Matthew, you being a bit of a stitch Nazi, as you put it. When you are doing these battles in front of hundreds of people, do sometimes you get, I don't know, let's call them history Karens that come up to you like, I appreciate the effort, guys, but this is wrong, and this is wrong.
Depends which event. That's the problem, because most of them you can't do correct because you haven't got the amount of people, you haven't got... There's not enough stuff for the whole thing. It's like, say, World War II reenactment. If you were doing a D-Day associated thing, you can't do 100% portrayal of it because you can't show the blood, the death, all that side. It's literally cowboys and Indians firing guns at each other for half an hour. At least for like medieval and stuff, you are doing like full-on hits in armor, and you can do it properly, but you still haven't got the amount of people. Yeah, but a lot of the battles and things, they're well documented, so you can go through like the tactics and things like that and demonstrate that side. But you just on a couple of acres rather than a couple of, I don't know, hectares. It's a big difference, really.
And Lee and Tom, when I spoke to you, Bruno can hear us, by the way. He's got his headphones on. He likes to potter around. But Lee and Tom, I spoke to you outside St. Mary's, and I asked you about the dialect that they used and the swear words and the banter they would use. Has that taken some learning on how to sound like they did back then?
Well, the language of the nobility was Norman French. So, I mean, you can't start to talk like this and do all of the baguette. But sometimes for some reason it can come off as a bit mocking.
Yeah.
Sorry to any Canadian listeners that are listening right now. We are very sorry for that.
Sorry, terrible of me. I know I could be arrested, I'm sure. But no, so you do sort of just need to make a choice of, are we going to try and sound French, or are we just going to say, sod it, let's do it in our natural voices?
In groups a bit in the past, which what we're going to do once we've got a big unit, like we'll have battle commands. So if there's like a group of spears, we'd say Andre les armes, which means everybody raises their spear, and then you would say... no, sorry, Adobey it's been a while, and Adobey would raise your spear, and it'd be Andre les armes, and then everyone would drop their spear at the same time and go, hurrah! So you'd have like certain things like that, but yeah, it's knowing when and when not to it, I would say.
Yeah.
That's also what they say in the movies. It's not Andre, it's Andre.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
And also, you kind of, a lot of, older movies now, they don't do it so much in the new ones, but there's a lot of like these and thous and verilies and stuff, and that's very much sort of Shakespeare-y sort of language, which just wasn't in use in the time periods that it's generally depicted as. That's generally going away now, which is nice, but you do still get some people who like to kind of prance around going, "Oh, verily thine maid."
Yeah. And then we always say twat. Do it, don't you? You just think, oh, okay, yeah, we're not like that. We're a bit cooler.
Yes, we're the cool nerds.
Yeah, we're the cool nerds.
I've been leaving it for a while because last time I spoke to him, he was very badly injured. But Chris Round from Uppercut Fight Company, he does the night stuff at Warwick Castle. And Uppercut Fight Company, Dean from there has been in Vikings. They're choreographers, right? And he was like, "I'm very sorry, I can't come on the show. I kind of fractured my skull." And I was like, "Okay." Obviously, some choreography gone wrong. Have you guys ever had any accidents that could have been serious?
A few.
Yeah. It depends which group you're in. I've been in a group where, I've nearly had my eye stabbed out. That wasn't fun. It just depends on which kind of fighting style you're using and how regularly you train. Regular training is the big one when it comes to safety, really.
Yeah, and we've tried to be different because most reenactment groups, certainly around here in England, it's a hit system. So you take a hit, you're only allowed to hit certain parts, but if you take that hit, you've been damaged, and you can have, say, 3 hits, for instance. But then you find that few people get a bit competitive, as you can imagine, so they're not going soft anymore. Then you're basically having a full-on fight, but trying to hit you somewhere else, which can be fun sometimes, but that's when the accidents do happen. I've lost a few nails. That's probably the biggest one for me. Nearly had my eye out a few times.
No. This is not the eye stabber. This is the bollock stabber. What are you doing?
Right, you're supposed to be hitting me in the belly. Why have you just swung at my head type thing? And then you do get a few nutters as well on some of the big battles as well, who just, who the hell's this guy? And he's like 8 foot and he's just charged into you, and you're thinking, fucking hell, he's big. And,
it's Mel Gibson, run!
Yeah. He's back.
The mountain.
I remember being at the Battle of Shrewsbury. And I looked, and there was 2 guys in full armour, and the one was just pushing his mate like this, pushing him forward, and I thought, I'm fucking having him. So I ran in, and I shoulder barged him, and I didn't even budge him, and I just went, ugh. And he literally picked me up by one hand and just threw me into the block, and he just shouted, kill him. And I just went, basically got my ass kicked, and then they threw me back, and then I was like, that was fun, let's try again. But yeah, try to keep my head down this time. But you do find more of the accidents do tend to be in the earlier period, because you've got different hits. You can go for the shoulders, the legs, the stomach, where the later period, because everything's just so big and bulky, and it's just you're hitting the belly and, try and knock them over with your shoulder. So it's a bit more controlled.
Wearing helms and stuff, I'd imagine that it must be kind of hard to be able to see fully, to get a full depth in where you're swinging. So I'm guessing a lot of these accidents are just, distinctly that, accidents.
Yeah. I'm sure, no one really sets out to be malicious. It is just some people get a bit over enthusiastic. Some people just kind of, slip. Couple of times there's people who are using weapons that are quite new to them, so that can be a bit dangerous. But no, it's very rarely ever on purpose.
Yeah. I can just imagine my mum on the sidelines going, "It's going to end in tears."
It's like why women live longer and just put a battle on.
I do have a video to play you guys. It's the famous video that got thousands of views when I've posted it. You won't be able to talk while it's playing because it'll just drown you guys out. But afterwards, maybe Matthew, you can tell me what's going on. As the guy who's organising this, I know it's Lee, you fighting. We'll just watch it first. There we go.
Great. 1.
All right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done.
I call bullshit though, because you need him first, and that obviously was the good hit, and then he comes at you with a sword. That's not called for. What a dick!
Oh, no, chivalry is dead. Chivalry.
It really is. Where's the gracious knee back? It's like, aha, I need you back, sir. I am the victor. And so he's like, I'm gonna stab you. And you're like, all right, geez.
There's 2 brothers sparring, that is, so just teaching them a little lesson.
Well, it was good. It was really good, man.
Obviously, that was our first practice for quite a while. So I'd like to say we do a lot better than that.
I thought it was great.
First practice for a while, that is.
I could probably shout the numbers a little quieter.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were saying. I thought he was just talking smack. For all I know, you're like, oh yeah, take that.
Yes,
you're like
yes,
that.
that's exactly
That's
right.
exactly what it was. Yeah.
Forget I said anything.
Yeah,
No,
so we're
so-
trying to make our style a little different to others, where, like we said before, you take the hits, where we're looking more of let's make it for the public, let's make it a bit Hollywood, let's give them what they want to see. So we do a point system or a number system, so bit like as we said, professional wrestling, if you like. So whisper, we'll try and whisper if we can. So 4. So we know if I say 4, he knows 4 big attacks are coming, and I'll try and be dramatic so he can see them coming in. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's all about making it posh for the public. But the dream is to have 20 or 30 of you doing the same thing. So doing reenactment for so long, it's so it can be quite crap and boring because everyone's trying to hit each other, and then for about 20 minutes everyone's just sort of stood there like this going, ooh, I don't want to go in because I don't want to get hit. Where if you're doing a system like we're doing and you've got say 20 or 30 of you doing it, the crowd will just be like, what the fuck am I going to watch? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a lot better.
Until Matthew comes wading in with his warhammer. No.
Yes. Duck and run.
So, like when you watch fight scenes on things like Game of Thrones, if you look at the background characters, like the people just fighting in the back, none of them are actually moving that quickly, but it looks impressive because you've got lots of people who are properly going at it. Like, so it might not be the most authentic fighting in the world, but really, if nobody's dying, it's not particularly authentic anyway, really.
Yeah. I mean, like it's all make believe. It's all but the fact that you're putting such technical skill behind it really speaks for it because it's like you're actually watching a fight. Now, would it be a little bit more dramatic if somebody ran in and just started swinging their fucking sword around? Probably, but then they wouldn't have any idea of what real sword play was like. They'd be like, "Oh, that's how you run up and kill a guy with an axe or whatever." It's not. You don't learn anything from it.
No, we do like basic system where we say 1, 2, 3, 4. So just to get you used to holding the sword and blocking and hitting, and it's just shoulder, side, leg, and then that person will do it back to you. You'll do it to them, and then you generally get quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. So it just becomes natural. And then if the public are looking in, they're just like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Because you're going that quick, and then you just add an elbow in now and again, but you get to know your partner, you see, and it's building it up.
Just on the kind of hits to here and here and here and stuff. If you look at saber manuals, for example, they kind of show that every cut in sword fighting is going to come from either there, or there. Yes. That's it. That's all you really need to learn to hit with or defend against.
Because the old stab. The one thing I remember from what was that? Modern Weapons? No. It was that show on Spike TV where they'd have like different fighters from different years come and fight. I don't remember what the hell it was. Anyways, the thing they always talked about was that the weapons, the swords you guys are using is a cutting weapon, whereas something like Japanese katana is more of a slashing weapon. And I knocked my cup over. That was what that was. I didn't die or anything. Anyways, so that's what I remember about sword play from my history lesson, which is Spike TV. Back to you, Alex.
What I was going to say. I was going to say something until Tom put me on the spot. Yeah, he does that. He does it quite a lot. So I was going to say to you guys, when I spoke to you, I said to you what kind of weapons you guys actually use, because in Game of Thrones we had that wobbly sword scandal that was going on for a bit there. But I saw your guys' weaponry. This is going to look like a naughty thing to say. But
checking out your sword from across the way, and
you were like, "Well." I mean, Lee showed me his weapon. It was hard. It was dangerous. It was very impressive.
Yes. I know, right?
Always.
Do any of you guys have a sword to show us now? Be careful. Be careful.
All right, guys, whip them out. Whip out all the swords. Let's check them out. Come on.
So I got 2 here. So,
we'll hold them up, Lee. Oh, wow.
He did before us.
With Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
So
that looks like a sword from the Lord of the Rings. What's his face there? Alex, what's that stuff? What's that guy? The king guy.
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow. Good old Jon Snow from Lord of the Rings. I remember that.
So this was made off Gandalf's sword from Lord of the Rings, which was glamour.
Bam!
But however, what I did is I got it altered so it was more authentic. What you need to do is, if you ever get time, is to Google. Is it the Oaken? I had it in my head then, and it's gone.
Oak shot.
That's it, the Oak Shot Guide, and that's every historical sword going. And luckily, I found it now. Ideally, this is 14th century, and this hilt and this pommel, they were around in the 14th century. However, there's only one that I've found that is together, so I can say yes, it's authentic, so I can use it to shows. But yeah, so this is another armor class, custom made, and I got my scabbard as well. But this is a hand and a half or two-hander, if you like, we want to call it. So this is what I would use for the later period if I'm brave enough to use it. But my main baby is this one, which is my normal sword, which is one-handed, which again armor class.
You ever take that to like? I mean, I'm sorry, this is a very silly question from a guy that does not do these type of things because obviously these things cost money and you don't want to break it. But you ever take it to like a block of wood and just be like, let's see how badass I am? What was that?
Well, funny you say, because I have hit the shit out of this over the years, and it is still like flawless. Which is why this is why I love these swords. Again, they're made from a company called Armor Class, which they're hand forged in Scotland, made how they were back then, but obviously that they're blunt. But they just, again, I fought other people with this who haven't had an Armor Class sword, who've paid a bit less, let's say, for their sword, and I have basically broken their sword, and yet mine has not even been damaged. So we used to have a little joke when me and my mate Chris, when we were younger, we used to say that this was elven blade because it was like elven steel when we were younger, when we first started, because we would literally just break other people's swords. However, they are quite solid. When you look at Tom's, you mentioned bendy swords. Bendy swords was actually a good thing because it meant that they didn't shatter. They didn't break as easy. And there's a famous sword, I can't remember what it's called, but it was in the Viking time, called the oak brig or oak something, and it was a famous sword that only very rare people got, and it bent, and it actually bent, so they could bend it in the shield and then snip in and just take the people out because it doesn't shatter. And you'll see some of the fights that me and Tom have had, when you take a picture of it, I'm blocking and his sword has sort of gone around my sword and it's almost hitting me in the head because it's almost bent round. So he's a sneaky little bugger, but it's more expensive than me.
Yeah, in sword fighting, you generally want to try and parry with the flat of the blade so that the edge stays sharp. So a bit of flex it'll just stop it from breaking and snapping when it's hit with the sword.
What I'm thinking right here is, what I learned growing up is the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. Now, we've already seen Matthew's Hellhammer, which looks so menacing. What arsenal are you rocking when you turn to battle, Matthew?
Normally have a sword and a glaive, which is basically like a giant butter knife on a stick.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that before.
Yeah. So that was used as like a more noble's weapon. So you went in with that. It was a pole arm and a blade attached. So you could knock people off, stab horses, whatever's needed. But you would always carry a sword with you as well, or a warhammer as well. You would have an array of things, really. You'll find a lot of people like 15th century with warhammers, even on, it's a sign of wealth, gentry, that sort of thing as well.
I can stab you from a distance.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's just like bigger version of that. So it would be like out here sort of thing with the point out here, or on a 6-foot piece of wood. So you can swing it at people and got a spike at either end.
Okay. Before we go on to the Battle of Shrewsbury, because I do want to cover that with you, Matthew. Lee, I want to talk about the flags you got behind you and the reasons why they're designed that way. Is this historically accurate, or is it just something that you guys liked?
So the crow obviously is. However, there's different interpretations of the crow. When we first started researching the Corbetts, the flag behind me was one that we sort of found first, and we kind of went with that. But later on, we discovered, they didn't really have that crow. To be fair, it was more this one. This is the more realistic one, which is what you'll see on Tom's shield as well. However, we have been having a bit of a joke and a laugh about the different types of crows for the group, because we're finding that some look like pigeons, we're finding that some look like ducks, because it was whoever painted it back then. So we are finding a good different range of crows that are out there. I mean, we have a running joke as well called Night of the Pigeon. Do you know what I mean? They're all going like. But at the minute, we had a bit of a vote to say, what was the best crow that we like, and we sort of came up with this one because it was historically correct, which hopefully Tom will go into in a minute to show you the manuscripts that we found. But the more that we've been doing it, we've thought, do you know what I mean? We actually quite like all of them because it shows that because the Corbett's were so big and they were everywhere. Everywhere's going to have a different interpretation, so it almost shows like the differences of the Corbett, sort of, like around Europe and around England, if you like, and the whole of
because there was Corbett's in Lincolnshire and also Normandy, and they had different ones as well. But he also used a elephant with a castle on top of it, which is in stained glass window at St Mary's. And also Morton Corbett, but it's reference to that from like 1100s, and then it disappears and then comes back in like 1500s. It's very odd. And then also a squirrel turns up as well. There's a jousting helm in the museum in Shrewsbury of normal size helmet, but it's got a squirrel on, made out of wood on top of it. It's ridiculous.
I'm trying to find a picture of the stained glass window at St Mary's, only because, Tom, Bruno, for you guys in America, is this interesting to you guys? Because you guys have the Civil War reenactments that you do, but I think the Civil War in America is closer to us than it is to the medieval times, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, historically speaking, you're like, yeah, it is. It's very well. See, I love this. It's just we don't have any of this over here. When people do medieval reenactments, it's usually at a medieval fair, which is like they need to do all sorts of weird shit. They'll have like dragons and stuff like that. It's like that's not medieval. That's just like what we represent medieval movies. But we don't have any real history like you guys do. So if anybody was to do like a medieval reenactment, we'd be like, bullshit. We didn't. There's no knights in America. You fuck.
Yeah.
But I love what you guys do. I love it.
There is medieval sailors going over from England in 1480 to America.
Did they like have castles and shit? I don't think that. I think there's.
But, there's a replica of the boat that's in Bristol.
Really?
Yeah. And it's called the Matthew, so they've chosen a good name for it.
Nice. Good name. Good name.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a full wooden replica of the boat that they used then. Because everyone goes on about, it's like 1500s when America was found and stuff like that. And no, there's earlier stuff.
It goes back to Oak Island, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There apparently is a tribe in, I think it's either Brazil, South America somewhere, that speaks a language similar to Welsh. And they believe that actually it was Wales that was first to find South America before anyone else. Wow. No, I mean, that could be bullshit. That's what I heard once.
That's funny. Some guy told him that outside a loo in the castle. He's like, yeah, totally. Well, she's like, really? I learned so much from you.
I was like, shh, back down.
Oh my god! I hope you were shining your shoes, Alex.
My wife's in there, but it's just, no. So the reason I am doing this is a very elaborate segue. So these are the stained glass windows in St Mary's. Okay, very beautiful stained glass windows. It's one of the finest collections in Europe or in the world, I'd probably say, and. These stained glass windows are, if you want to say, are the very first comic books. They tell a story.
All right.
And each window is sponsored by a family or a unit or something like this. And you said, Matthew, that one of these windows was actually sponsored by the Corbetts, right?
Yeah. So it was in the West Porch. It's only a tiny little window. It's only that sort of size. They actually funded the building of the porch, but wanted their own mark on it, and used the Elephant and Castle. I think Robert, who runs the place, manages the church. I think he said it was 12th century, so it's got a good age.
A huge shout out to Robert Milton, by the way, who is the only reason we're doing this really today. So thank you, Robert.
What I take away from this is the church has the greatest scam of all time. If anybody wants to sponsor the new windows that I need in my house, I will write your name on it and marker that rubs away. I can't have your name on my fucking. Well, no, you're paying for the windows. I'll put your name on it forever. Don't worry. It's not gonna be stained glass. I'm thinking double pane. We got snow and stuff, so it's gonna be really well insulated. It's perfect. I love it. Let's do it.
Well, there's a plaque in the church, and it goes on about people that have donated money, and there is So there's loads of different people like donated silver before they died and stuff like that. And I'm sure it was a tax thing. But one of the people was what was it? Robert Wetwang.
Yeah.
That's an amazing name. And it donated £5.
Robert Wetwang, what did he do? Oh, you know what he did. You don't have to ask.
What didn't he do?
He slayed many females, is what he did, old Wetwang.
Now, the reason I segue into those windows as well, by the way, is just to talk about the Battle of Shrewsbury, because obviously what Matthew... is it just you that's planning it, Matthew, or is it a group of you organising this?
This year it's myself and the Battlefield 1403 Farm Shop that's organising it. Robert's getting involved with opening the church over the weekend as well. It's basically come from an idea that I had quite a few years ago, and it's actually become a thing because I went to university at Harper Adams in Newport, and so I used to visit their Morton Corbett, which is why I got interested in the Corbett household. And it was well, it's a major battle that nobody really does. There is the group, the Shrewsbury Levy, that do things at the battlefield. I think they're there this weekend doing have-a-go things and things like that. And it's there needs to be a full-on event, because you've got the Battle of Tewkesbury event or the Battle of Bosworth, where there can be up to 1,500 people fighting on the good years. And Shrewsbury's got so much history.
Yeah.
And its connections to all over the world, really. It needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
So, so it's been a bit of it's more of
A group effort.
Yeah.
Collaboration.
Yeah, and now I'm getting other people involved and things. Over time, once it builds up more and more. But this year, I've got 260 reenactors booked in so far. Some are coming down from Scotland, some are coming up from Devon, and it's going to be a hell of a lot bigger than the last time we did it. So,
and can one of you have a stab at, pun intended, a stab at explaining very briefly the Battle of Shrewsbury, what happened? Just to show people, because we're going to be there. We're going to set up a table. The Shrewsbury Biscuit's going to be there, and so is USUK. So we're going to try and take a double-pronged attack at trying to document what's going on here. But if we let people know exactly why the battle happened and what happened, briefly, if we can.
So, very briefly, it's basically a long line of family problems. So it's the Percy household who based up in Northumberland, and also, the king, in a way. So there was battles before. There was various financial issues, political issues. There was people captured before at the Battle of Bolingbroke and Homerton Hill, and things weren't paid for. Hotspur wanted to take ransoms for the people that he captured. The king disagreed. They kicked off at each other and started rebelling against the king. It could have been the start of civil war, basically.
Wow.
You had Owen Glendower in Wales. They were going around Welsh castles, kicking off around there, and they were supposed to get involved. But as leading up to the Battle of Shrewsbury, the king found out. He got to Shrewsbury, closed the gates. The Welsh got stuck on one side. Hotspur was up on the other side. And then it all kicked off on the 21st of July. They tried to discuss stuff before the battle started. They sent an abbot out to try and discuss things, try and sort it, and negotiate different aspects of it. But they disagreed. There was about 14,000 people on each side, and up to 3,000 archers as well that have been recruited coming through Cheshire and things like that. So it was one hell of a big battle. It was one of the largest battles of longbows being used in Britain up to that date. So it's quite influential. So Hotspur Hotspur and the King both got arrows in faces and all that side of things as well.
From what I hear, it was a very short but brutal, bloody war, right?
Yeah. So it was literally done in one evening because it was on a Saturday, and being religious medieval period, they wanted to get it done then. They didn't have enough food and supplies to leave it until the Monday, and so they just went for it.
And they still haven't found the pile of bodies, have they? They reckon most of the bodies have just never been found. Like, they don't know where they are.
Yeah. So assuming where the church is on the battlefield, there was a body pit under there, which was the rebel side. They've done digs around it, not found anything yet. But behind St. Mary's, can't remember what it's called. Where the old hospital is.
The parade.
Behind St. Mary's.
The parade.
Yeah. So behind there, going down to the river, is supposed to be another pit, and there's supposed to be about 400 people in there, and it's not been dug yet. So.
Some families out there having a picnic near the river, and they're just on top of 400 bodies.
Yeah, there are picnic benches on the exact spot where it's supposed to be. And Alex might have seen it. In St. Mary's, did you see the stone carved effigy down by the main windows of the knight?
I probably have, because I did an audio tour.
Yeah. So in that chapel was, they think they found the Earl of Worcester without his head, because he executed people outside the church. So outside W.H. Smith's, there's a cross, and that's where they assumedly did them. Yeah.
And this is the thing. This is the thing you don't understand about Shrewsbury as well, guys that live in America. Shrewsbury was a pretty fucking gruesome place at one point. You know, they didn't hang people at the prison; they would do it right in the middle of town. They haven't quite found where they used to hang people, but they got an idea of where it might have been. And what is now, I believe, what is it? The white building by the library used to be the jail. By the library in Shrewsbury.
The bar market. No,
not the bottom market. There's a white. But I've done a little bit of history. I'm working at the prison. I'm trying to find out a little bit about the jail, and it was meant to be one of the most grim places, in the town. It was disgusting, and there's death and everywhere, and you got places like W.H. Smith and CEX and all these amazing high street stores, and you don't really know the history of the place until you kind of look up a little bit and look at the architecture around you.
Well, it's a local McDonald's, wasn't it? When they tried to make the McDonald's, and then they ended up digging and finding loads of dungeons and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, what are we going to do with this? We can't take it down." So it actually became part of McDonald's for a good many years. It was a dungeon bit that you'd go in, but it's unfortunately they've closed it now. McDonald's have moved on. So
and this is one of the places we've had Chris Shirk on the show before. Chris Shirk is we like Chris Shirk. He's a rooftopper or urban explorer from Shrewsbury, where you are not. Very famous blog around the world, actually. People love his blog, should I say. And he was dying to get back in McDonald's. And I want to do another podcast with him. And I was like, let's get somewhere creepy. So there's a shop there now. I think a designer shop that I kind of like, no, we're not up to people digging around downstairs. But it was part of the McDonald's in Shrewsbury was actually part of the town walls. So you're talking about 13th century architecture, it's crazy.
Wow. Right next to where they keep all the frozen French fries. What a weird thing. It's just that's our 13th century wall, and that right there is our double fryer.
So with you guys, with the reenactment group, obviously we want to try and encourage young people to get involved in what you're doing, because I feel like I mentioned to you, Lee, outside St. Mary's, that it's very important for you guys to pass the torch, right? To keep this thing going for the next generation. Are you kind of encouraging young folks to come and join in with what you guys are doing, trying to teach them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sorry, Matt, you want to go?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. We're always trying to do hands-on activities and things like that. At the moment, it's a bit difficult because of COVID stuff. But let's say the Battle of Shrewsbury, what I'm planning to do over the 5-year plan is to start doing education days with schools and things like that, where we can get people to go in armour and do hands-on sessions, so they can actually have a go at archery or see what a sword's like and things like that. and talking to quite a few people with that, and like Robert at Churches Conservation Trust to try and do things with him. But like at events, like if you get a kid that's enthusiastic, it's like reenactors will be like, well, here's all the stuff, try it on, do this, give it a go. Like there is the safety points, but yeah, we always try and support like the future of heritage and things like that.
What we could do actually is a way of inspiring people is we go around the room. Obviously, Matthew, you were saying that you were inspired by university and the situation of your university about the history. Go around the room and talk about what inspired you to get involved with this. Why do you do this? So we'll start off with Lee, because obviously Matthew, if you want to double back to you, we can do. But Lee, why the fuck do you do this, dude? Why?
I think I was always interested in like sword fighting and like martial arts type thing, and you know, most people sort of who I grew up with, they were all more like all into football. Everything was football. And you know, don't get me wrong, I like watching the local England game, but that's about it. Where I don't know, I really wanted to know how to, for whatever reason, I wanted to fight with a sword. I can't tell you what it was, but I just had to do it. And then just found my local reenactment group that was doing it, and it went from there. And the more I did it, and the more I got to enjoy the history, and it just sort of just went on and on and on from there. But that was my passion right at the beginning. Maybe it's because I watched He-Man non-stop when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was just drummed into my head, and Thundercats, I don't know. But I had to fight. I just wanted to learn how to fight with a sword, and yeah, katana and thing, but no, it had to be, I wanted to be a knight. And it just started from there, yeah, and it just carried on. And luckily I had a group in my local town that took me on and taught me the ways. But it is true what you said about passing the torch on, because there's other groups out there as well who are doing exactly the same as us, but they're portraying the Welsh. So of course, do you know what I mean, they want to fight Normans, you know, so we want to make a Norman group or a late 15th century group just to fight, and we want to train them, and you know, and have that aspect as well, and just have a great time and have a battle, because it's all about having a fight, getting drunk, and then having a fight the next day when you're hungover and then get drunk again. That's what it's all about. And just sat round the campfire and you meet some mates.
What do? We fight and drink mead. Yes.
And just to bring up the Battle of Hastings, you know, every anniversary, it's a massive event. And I've been in 2006 and I've been in 2016, where I'll never forget 2006 because it was 3,000 reenactors, so it was 1,500 a side, and I'll never remember walking up that hill and seeing them all coming down like, and I was just thinking, holy crap, you know, I was about 20 years old, and they had 200 archers and they'd shoot them at you, obviously rubber tips on the end, but you just look up and they're all coming in, and they'd have 200 on horses, and I was just like, yeah, I want to do this. But it was such a big event. You had people from Australia coming in to do the battle as well, because it's such a big event. And like Matthew said, hopefully we're going to get the Battle of Shrewsbury the same as that, like capacity at one point. So that's what we want to do. So,
and by the way, Tom's been muted because there's a bit of a technical noise. But Tom, what was your influence into this? He's trying to find the mute button now. I can do it for you if you like.
Braveheart.
no!
I'm sorry, I just want to speak for him. One Tom to another, I want to answer for him.
There we go. Oh, we got you back.
So it actively was not Braveheart. No. So when I was like very, very young, the Lord of the Rings movies were just coming out, and I was just blown away. Everyone in my school wanted to be either like, footballers and all of that nonsense. I was like, I want to be Boromir. But yeah, so that kind of sparked an interest in just anything medieval and swords and armor. And that kind of just lay a bit dormant. Then I got into historical movies, which I can't watch anymore because they're wrong. But yeah, things shamed as I am to admit it, things like Braveheart, like Kingdom of Heaven, that kind of thing, just kept that, like, brought that back out of me, that kind of, I like swords, I like knights, I want to learn more about it. So I saw one day my local castle, Whittington Castle, was doing a reenactment event. So I thought, I'll just pop around and see what it's like. and it was a group of about 400 people, just Norman knights and soldiers, and they had like ladders climbing the walls and siege weapons firing off, and I just thought, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. I want to do this now. So yeah, I joined up with, they had a group based at Whittington Castle, so I just asked who runs that group. I want to talk to them, and I joined, turned up to the next training session, and just, from there.
Amazing.
Nice.
Really, really good. And Matthew, let's talk about the Battle of Shrewsbury. I got a couple of pictures here I've pulled off your Facebook. There's this one here. Well, what are we looking at here, Matthew?
Okay, so ignore the helmet on the left-hand guy. That's Richard. In fact, I'm on there as well, actually, on the right-hand side in the wrong helmet. But anyway, so this is the Shrewsbury levy in the middle. As you can see, it's got the three heads that are used around the town. Same in that one. So it's this was during the small scrap we had. It was a weekend of where it pissed down all weekend. Only quarter of the people turned up, unfortunately, because they didn't want to get the tents wet. And but we still had a good fight. So as you can see, that's like the normal everyday living history camp behinds, where you've got the cooking rig and things like that. And you've got right hand side, you've got the normal everyday attire, and then you've got your typical mercenary soldier on the left. So and then you've got the king versus who is Hotspur. So but he's getting his armor a bit better now. He's spent a small fortune. I don't know if his wife knows. So he's had everything made for it. So so to be the full character that he is.
Wow.
You never tell your wife how much the stuff costs. I'm just saying.
How much does this stuff cost, Lee?
I can't say at the minute because she's in the other room.
Because we spoke to a guy that does World War II battle reenactment on our old show, and he was like, a replica sort of Lee Enfield rifle will cost you how much, Tom? $100?
Yeah, it's $100. But the thing is, though, the unfortunate part of you guys doing your reenactments is finding actual items that were used during these times are very, very, very expensive, and usually they're in museums. In the World War II reenactors, they can actually find a bunch of stuff that's still kicking around from the World War II in the 1940s. So they really pride themselves on finding objects that were used or that were very, very time specific from that time. And they can spend thousands of dollars to make this. But with your guys' stuff, it's completely different because they're wearing outfits, right? They're wearing a costume that might, or a real outfit that might cost them $100-200. How much does a general suit of armor kind of maybe in the area cost?
All depends on the style, really. Earlier, it's still not cheap because it's having the mail made and things like that. A normal male shirt can be anything from, you can get ready-made ones for £250, something like that.
Yeah, if you're looking at
and that's a cheap one, to be fair.
Yeah, if you're looking at riveted mail, which is the historical stuff, about $250 for the hauberk, probably region of about $100 for a coif, and then you've got the legs, which are going to set you back out, and again over $100, and then you've got to do all of the alterations yourself because nowhere sells it properly tailored and the proper historical rig.
For later periods, for a helmet, you're looking, to have one made, you're probably looking about £500-600
for a helmet.
Yeah. A pair of gauntlets is what? How much were yours, Lee?
I was quite lucky, so my God. I was going to say 190.
You hear from the background, what'd you say, Lee? And you're like, nothing.
Well, I was chatting to one of the ladies that was with the guys from the Coventry Reenactment Society, and they're saying these leg bits here the legs cost about £1,000. I was like,
Yeah.
no way, no fucking way, £1,000 for that.
Yeah, so he goes to a guy called Uwe in Germany to have his armor made, and his stuff's amazing, and it is made how it was during the medieval period.
It makes such a difference as well, doesn't it? Because you can buy some right cheap knockoffs, mainly, and I don't mean this to sound horrible, but mainly from India. They make a lot of items, but for whatever reason, they make them like 4 times. They must think we're all giants over here or something. If somebody was to go over to India and say, "Look, mate, make them a bit smaller," they would sell out. They'd make a lot of money, but for whatever reason, they think we've all got like we're all 8 friggin' foot, and we're all like 4 foot wide.
A bit like Gimli out of Game of Thrones.
It is, yeah.
Lord of the Rings, where he drops
They literally just need one person to go over to India and say, "Look, mate, make it a bit smaller," and they'd make a fortune, because the stuff's not bad. It's just massive. I say it's not bad. A lot of it is still bad, but a lot of it is good, but huge.
After looking at your guys' outfits, and I know it's completely out of, but I was thinking about it because when you guys are showing me your sword, I have a katana. It was machine made. It's not very good, but it's a cool thing, right? And I got it because of Walking Dead, and I was like, oh snap, all right, you gotta have a sword if the zombies come. But apparently you don't want that. They want what you guys have: chainmail, armor, big heavy swords meant for chopping. Dude, essentially knights would do really well in the zombie apocalypse.
I've always said there are not enough zombie apocalypse films set in the medieval period.
Dude, right?
Christopher Nolan, if you're listening, this is what we need. Okay.
Well, they did Army of Darkness, which was a zombie demon-esque type of film, and that was in medieval times. That was pretty good, except there was a car in there, but whatever. And a chainsaw.
There's a TV show. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, called Kingdom, which is set in medieval Korea, which is quite cool. It's a zombie apocalypse in medieval Korea. Katanas, just
a lot of people are talking about that. I think it's been voted as one of the best zombie TV series of all time. The Walking Dead.
It's good.
Because I started watching that Z Nation, and the first one, I was like, this is pretty good. And then it was just like, it got worse and worse every single one, and I've just stopped watching it now.
I remember we spoke to Charlie Adlard, and we were like, so you design the comic books. How do you watch the TV series? He's like, no. Well, it's hilarious. Matthew, can people from around the world get involved with what you're doing? Is there a way that people can get in touch with what you're doing, read about what you're doing, see what you're doing, and possibly feel like they're part of the crew,
Yeah, so, we're on Facebook and things like that. So over the next few weeks, I'll be putting more and more things on, almost like a timeline leading up to the event of what actually happened on those days. And then we'll be doing live streams with yourselves as well. We'll be doing bits and pieces. And then hopefully other media aspects will be coming along as well. And it's
amazing.
It's one of those ones where as it grows, it's more things are going to be available.
Can we order some good weather, please? Because I don't have a marquee. I can do the rain. Yeah. I can do the rain, but my equipment can't. So let's just.
Trash bags are cheap, Alex. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
You wouldn't want to go today, would you? The rain's finally arrived today, isn't it? It's immense.
Oh yeah. I just went out. It's steroids, mate. It was absolute steroids out there. And when is this taking place? Anybody that's listening, that's local to Shropshire. When is the Battle of Shrewsbury?
Yeah, so it's the 24th, 25th of July. So it's going to be on that weekend every year because it's the anniversary week of the battle, which happened on the 21st. It's 10 till 4 each day. So we're going to be doing, fingers crossed, with COVID aspects and things, we're going to be doing 2 battles a day. We're going to be doing the Battle of Homerton Hill in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be doing the Battle of Tewkesbury. Battle of Shrewsbury, rather, not Tewkesbury. Somebody did mention about a beer tent version of Tewkesbury. That's what I've got that in my mind. And there's going to be horse demonstrations, archery demonstrations, and things like that throughout the day, and also living history, historic market, things like that. So all sorts.
We're going to be there on the 24th. I think on the 25th we've got other plans, but we're going to be there all day. We have, I think, hopefully we've got TS coming up from Cardiff. We're going to book it off. We've got Biscuiteers walking around as well. So we are going to get this out before the event. So if anybody wants to come and say hello, please feel free. But you guys are just amazing. I think what you do is very important. You've got kids out there that are struggling to understand what happened in World War II. They've learned a little bit, like Tom said, in school, maybe a term about the medieval Britain. I mean, I learned a story about Shrewsbury, actually, about King Charles was coming to Shrewsbury, and the mayor, I think it was the mayor at the time, or the lord, was like, "You can come in out of my town over my belly," which means if he kills me, sort of thing. And this guy was shitting himself. He saw his army coming towards Shrewsbury. I was like, for fuck's sake, what did I say that for? And when the army got there, he literally lay down. And the king stepped over him as a joke, and they went and had a few pints. I don't know how accurate that is. If you guys know, it's real. But,
I have heard similar things before.
My teacher was David Trumper.
So go take it up with him. He's the one that's
no. To people listening in Shrewsbury will know that David Trumper is one of the most famous historians in Shrewsbury. All the famous photographs and history books based on Shrewsbury are written by my old teacher. And in fact, I was at Theatre 7 once, and I went up to this guy because I thought he was my old teacher. I was like, "Are you Mr. Trumper?" And he went, "No." And I was like, "Okay, see you later, guys." It was really, really funny. But yeah. So where can people find you? You said you're on Facebook. Where can people find you, Matthew?
Yeah, we're on Facebook as the Battle of Shrewsbury Medieval Weekend, and also the 1403 Farm Shop Facebook page as well. They're sharing things onto that.
And Lee, the Corbett Household as well. People follow them.
Yeah, so it's just at the Corbett Household on Facebook. But if you just put the Corbett Household into Facebook, you'll find us. You'll find us straight away. You can see that there's the stone of a crow that looks like a pigeon, but it's not. I promise, it's a crow. That's us.
Or a chicken, as Tom said. He's like, that looks like a chicken.
No, chicken. Yeah, look at that one. Yeah, crow.
Didn't you say, Lee? Oh, well, you painted it, Tom.
I did. Yeah, he did paint it. That's right. He just wanted to make his look better. That's all. Because look at his behind him, looking really cool. I can't have you looking as good as me. I think he said something like that. So
quite right.
But yeah, again, it's just thank you so much for having us as well. It's been fantastic.
No. I love what you guys do, and like I said, I'm very invested in this because I think it's really important, and it's really fucking cool. I just sent the picture. I've sent some pictures of you holding up your sword, Lee, and this conversation happening to the USUK guys. And the first thing I saw was Jamie Westford from USUK Chronicles going, "That's so fucking cool. That's so cool," because it is wicked. And I hope you guys have a great day on the Battle of Shrewsbury. I'll be there, of course, so we'll get plenty of interviews. We're hoping to get like a 3 or 4 part podcast. Hopefully. Plenty of interviews, plenty of things going on, some vlogs. Maybe you guys can teach me how to swing a sword. I don't think you'll have chainmail that'll fit over my gut, but...
But we say hopefully by the Battle of Shrewsbury as well that we're going to have all of our livery made, because we've got a lady in our group called Sarah Firstfield, and she's a great seamstress historian. Is that the right title, Tom?
Yeah. She's one of the published author on the matter and stuff.
Yeah, she's one of the best in the country, if not the world, and she is making our Corbett coats and bends, which is for the late period, which is a fabric that will go across the breastplate with a crow on it, and we just cannot wait to get it. Hopefully we're going to have it done by then, but if it's not going to be done then, certainly next year we're all going to be read up and vamped up, and hopefully planning
if you guys sort me out a patch or something like that with the Corbett arms on, I'll wear it with pride, and when people ask me, I'll be like, "That's what this is, bitch. This is the Corbett arms."
I say you just wear a bathrobe and say you're a Jedi Knight and be like, "What up, knights?
Shall not pass."
Wrong movie.
Get all the livery made as well, and we're going to take a trip to Morton Corbett and also the remains of Cawes Castle to get some photos done as well, just to bring it back, because it's important that it needs to look. This is where we're still here, so it's almost like we want to take the flag back to its home, because I wonder when the last time the Corbett flag was actually flying in their grounds. So that's my dream, to get it there and put it back.
Nice.
That's
like
what
that.
we want to do, and to get the bloody flag at the Battle of Hastings. That's my other dream, to try and get us there, which hopefully we're going to be there next year if it's on.
And is there a sorry, I know I'm droning on. Tom's probably like, fucking hell, it's been going for a long time, Whiteley. Fucking hell. No. But is there a national page or somewhere people can go to get involved with other battle reenactments and learn? Like a main...
You stumped them.
It depends on which part of medieval. It's like, so like the War of the Roses period. So, like Bosworth, Tewkesbury, and things like that. You've got the War of the Roses Federation, and they've got a website with all the groups on and things. Earlier is individual groups. A lot do collaborate together and share each other's things. Most are on Facebook.
Yeah.
Most of their websites aren't really up to date, so Facebook's the best way to get them. But yeah, or just go to a local event and just get chatting to people. And you'll find out far more that way by visiting them, seeing them, having a random chat.
Yeah, that's what I found about you guys last week, is when speaking to you guys, very approachable people, and they will talk to you. So please, if you do that, make sure you use your words, people. Use your words.
Yeah, we need more men or women. People. We need more people. That's what I should have said.
Well, sir, you may have my sword. Okay, but guys, what we need to do is we need to break the fourth wall a bit, and we need to tell our listeners about something that we're doing in September, because we have actually, when's this going up? We have a 24-hour live podcast event that we're doing in September. I'm going to show this artwork, but it's not going to be correct because we are being branded and logoed by Reach Media in Shrewsbury. But we do have this 24-hour podcast challenge that we're going to be doing from 9 a.m. on the 29th of September till 9 a.m. on the 30th of September. We're going to go live on YouTube or Facebook if we can get that to work, and we're not going to stop. We're going to have 12 hours of the Shrewsbury Biscuit and 12 hours of USUK. Our guest spots are filling up fucking quick. So if you want to get involved with that, make sure you go to our website. Tom will tell us about our website in a second. But we're doing this event to raise money for Lingen Davis. And the idea of this is we're going to be doing this bigger and better next year, and we're going to challenge people to do better than what we're doing. If you've got a podcast, if you've got a game stream, if you've got a battle reenactment or an OnlyFans service, I don't give a fuck, right? If you're doing something out there, go and affect your local community in a positive way and raise some money for a local charity, because that's what we're doing, and that's cool as fuck, kids, and we're cool. And so if you want to get involved with us, make sure you visit our website, Tom.
First of all, that was the most uncool thing anybody's ever said ever, is to claim that they're cool. So you are not. But hey, guess what, guys? We have a website. All right. It is USUKnetwork.com. That is where we are. That is where you can find all things that are USUK. You can find all of our fantastic shows, which would be this show, What's the Difference, with Alan and Tom. You can find the USUK Chronicles with Jamie Westwood and Tom Stevens. You can find Wednesday Night Live, which happens every Wednesday night, and it's just a group of us kind of sitting down bullshitting. There's a couple soon to be coming shows that will be later on announced. Yelling at Clouds with Mr. Alex Whiteley and Mr. Eric Fluger. Some might remember from Hollywood Babylon fame. And that's always a good time. And by the way, guys, if you are listening to this, there's only a short amount of time left before we have our Hot Wing Trivia Challenge, which comes up July 3rd. It's the Battle of Independence 2. This time it's hotter. Thanks. So it's going to be us, US versus UK, in a battle of trivia questions about US and UK. And we're going to see who is the dominating force and who can handle the heat when it comes to the tough questions asked by our celebrity guest host, Mr. Mark Summers. And it's going to be a good time. So if you like hot wings, if you like trivia, if you like the US, if you like the UK, how can you not like any of those things? Those things are excellent. That's a fucking dope ass logo right there. I'm going to guess made by our good friend, Mr. Alex Whiteley.
No. That was made by Ori, actually. Ori made
Oh,
Ori.
shit, Ore. I'm so sorry, Ore. This was made by Ore, who's much better at this than Alex, apparently, and I'm going to give him all the credit for it. I'm just joking. Just kidding. JK Rowling. Anyways, so these things are coming up, and they are amazing, and they are fun, and all of them are possible because we had a website made by the good people over weborchard.com. Hey, guys, do you have a website? You really need one because the fact is that social media doesn't really pump out your message hard enough. It does well. Like, you can Facebook and stuff, and you can Instagram, but really just tell people that you're serious about what you're doing. You need a website. You need a home for where people can go and check out whatever it is you might be doing, whether it's your cat pictures, it's your OnlyFans, whether you're selling things on Etsy. You need a website to be able to showcase your wares. So, a lot of people will say, hey, Tom, can't you just go on to so-and-so website and make one yourself? That's stupid. Don't do that because it's going to look like shit. Everybody's using the same template, the same bullshit. It's not going to look individual, and that's what you are as an individual. So if you want a website tailored to you, reach out to the good people at weborchard.com and, tell them that we sent you because that helps out.
Well done.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Well done. Have you guys got any closing notes before we get out of here? Matthew, have you got anything to say?
Do you need a website?
We do, actually.
Wow.
Make sure you get a Web Orchard. They're great at doing what they do. They're local as well. They're in town, just by the train station. So bottom of Coton Hill. Yeah. So
thank you to you guys for letting us come on, and and to the listeners, and basically go to your nearest historical place or event and enjoy it. Go and learn something new, whatever it is.
To add on to that, go to your museum. If you've never been to your local museum, fucking go and learn about your local history.
I don't want to go to an event again where I'm going to have kids telling me how to get YouTube up on a typewriter. Or is that fire real? Is it going to burn me? Or is that a real baby?
So if I turn up to the battle dressed up as a stormtrooper, you're going to blow your fucking mind. Right? The fuck?
Yeah. Shoot an arrow into that Welsh man.
We'll get you fighting at some point.
Yes, that's what I want. Me versus TS. He's Scottish, so that'll be interesting. Okay, Lee, have you got anything to add before we get out of here?
No, just that obviously we're on Facebook. Come see us. Any money that we do make from our shows all goes straight back into the group, so we can keep it going. None of us take a profit from it. It's all any money that we do end up getting from doing historical events goes straight back into the group to make sure we get the proper kit and we look the part. So that's just thought I'd mention that. But thank you again, though, so much for having us on here. Really enjoyed it. Thank you and letting us share our story.
That's awesome. Tom, you've been muted there for a bit. Have you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Just make sure you look for Lee Jones on OnlyFans. He'll be there in his full kit.
That's how he pays for his armor.
Give us money.
That's not my real name.
His wife off his back. Thank you guys. It's been really fun.
This has been amazing, and thank you so much to you guys for listening. Thank you to our guests, amazing guests, especially for dressing up in chainmail to come on our show. It's been awesome speaking to you guys.
Very nice. Now take it off slowly.
Yeah. This has been What's the Difference podcast. I've been Alex Whiteley.
And I am Tom Bruno.
And we will catch you guys next time. Peace out. When it comes to culture either side of the Atlantic, no one does it better. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you USUK's What's the Difference podcast with Alex Whiteley and Tom Bruno.